Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Presence, Passion, and Purpose webinar on this fine evening. This webinar is all about living this life on your terms. Now, some people might say, well, that's a pretty selfish way about going about living your life. But is that really true? Because if you're not living your life on your terms, if you're not coming from a place of authenticity and integrity, what are you really putting out there? Are you putting out your true self? You know, the most fulfilled, the most passionate, the most present, the most purpose-driven self that you could give to people? Or are you giving a false representation of who they think you should be? Living your life on your terms means that you have more to give because there's more of you there. You know, living your life on your terms means that you have certainty and you have a defined purpose. You know what you want to contribute and you go out there and you give the world your best. That's what this is all about. Living the life on your terms. So here we go. Now, before we get started, I know you guys have had a long day and probably, had work or driven home, and you might be sitting there watching this webinar. So before we get started about me, let's everybody stand up and shake your body out. Just really get your body associated with the energy of this webinar. Because you know what? When you're more focused, when you're more present, both mentally, spiritually, or both mentally, spiritually, and physically, you'll take in more of this. You'll retain more of this. It's incredible. There's been studies done about how when you engage your body, when you really like step into it fully, how much more you retain. So that's it. Shake your body out. Really get a good energy flowing through you. Get your blood going. And now we're gonna get into this. Just a little bit about me, so you know who you're spending your evening with. My name is Constance Fairleight, and as you can tell by my accent, I was born in the United States, born in New Jersey, and spent a lot of time up and down the East Coast between Miami and New Jersey, Miami, Florida, and New Jersey. It was a beautiful place to grow up, and my love of Miami has now transferred into my love of Australia, where I live now. I'm based in Sydney, and it's absolutely a beautiful place to live, and yeah, wouldn't have it any other way. All right, well, as I was growing up and becoming aware of what I wanted to do, I always knew that I wanted to help people. I always knew that I wanted to make people feel better, or both physically and emotionally. And as I grew, I also learned that it was incredibly important to have the spirit aligned with your physical and your emotional bodies. So I became very involved in the nursing field. I worked in emergency rooms and trauma centers in New Jersey. Enjoyed that time of my life very much. It was always an adrenaline rush. You never knew whose body you were going to have your hands in at that moment, any given moment. But it wasn't totally fulfilling, and I always knew I wanted more. So later on, I'll tell you a little bit of a story about my why, about wanting to become a doctor, but that didn't happen for a very good reason. But yep. So I did have a strong nursing background, but I was also raised in a family of shamans. My grandmother was a fourth-generation shaman, and on my mom's side, my mom chose not to participate in her spirituality this lifetime. But my grandmother taught me all the ways that she knew, herbs and energy healing, and my grandfather was very strong in supplements and health and well-being. So I had a really, really good growing up agenda of becoming a healer, becoming someone who was really passionate about helping other people to live fulfilling, passionate lives. So now, when I came to Australia in 2007, I was not in a good way. I actually got off the plane into a wheelchair because of a back injury that I had had. I herniated 4 discs in my lower spine, and they basically told me that I would not walk again. That was going to be it. I was going to be confined to that chair, and I got to the point where I said, hell no, I ain't doing that. That's not the way I'm going to spend this life. And I began my journey, both spiritually and physically. I started to train with Peter Haggerty. He taught me so much about presence and so much about purpose. He was the most amazing teacher, for someone who had never really spent time as an adult looking at what was I here for. And then I also studied with a woman by the name of Patricia Durbin. Patricia was an incredible, or is an incredible spiritual healer. And she, schooled me more on the workings of shamanism and how energy does affect us and how we can use certain energies to heal and to help others. And then I decided, look, I had been a nurse. I was involved in, shamanic healing growing up. And I wanted to continue that, but I knew there was a part missing. I knew there was something, the glue that brought it all together was missing. And I have always followed Anthony Robbins since I was younger, around 20 or so, because he's not that much older than I am. But I just thought, wow, he's got some really great ideas. So I really started looking into his work, and I found that it was the missing piece. It was the glue, bringing the mind, body, and the spirit together in a holistic way really helps you to build that foundation that you can create your desired outcomes on, that you can build that fulfilling, passionate, and present life on. So I studied Life Mastery, am still studying Life Mastery with Anthony Robbins and his his network, and it has been an incredible blessing because it really has taken my coaching to another level. Now, I have been in practice as an empowerment coach since 2010, and I've served clients in over 30 countries around the world, and it is a true honor. When someone says, I really believe you're the one you're the one that I need to work with, that I want to work with you. I want to build my life. I want to become more empowered. I want more fulfillment, and I want to work with you. Wow, what an incredible blessing. So thank you to all my clients out there, and thank you to all my future clients, because I know that you guys, like everyone here on this webinar, I can't believe it. We actually have 10, just tonight alone, 10 countries represented here. Everything from the UK to the United States. We've got India, Germany, France, Australia. So, thank you. Thank you for being passionate. Thank you for being action takers. I love it. You guys have great energy. Thank you so very much. So now we're going to get into this. And the first part that we're going to look at is finding your center. Now, we do have a few healers on this webinar already, and people that I've had interactions with before, and a lot of new people. So I'm going to bridge the gap here. Finding your center is all about ensuring that you're grounded in what you want, what your desire is, what your outcomes are going to be. Finding your center is that balanced space, that state of certainty that you know where you're going. You are certain of where you're headed. And that's a great feeling, because when you find your center, and we'll talk about ways to do that, but when you find your center, you're unshakable. You're unstoppable. And if something does throw you, you're right back on track, because you know what's working, and you shift your focus, you shift your state, and you get back there. So the first way of finding your center, the first step in finding your center is determining the level of your emotional mastery. How much time do you spend in reaction? How much time do you spend worrying about things that you can't control? How much time do you spend trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix, or worrying about how people are perceiving you or if they're judging you? One of my most favorite uh, phrases is, what other people are thinking about you, or what other people say about you, or what other people feel about you is actually none of your business. And that's the truth. Because you can't control what they say, you can't control what they do, you can't control how they feel. Their judgment is their judgment. If you're not living an authentic and a life of integrity, you'll know it. And if you want to change it, you will. If not, well, that's another story. But if you're living that authentic life, if you're living that life of passion and purpose-driven, guidance, that you know where you're headed and it's coming from your heart space, then like I said, what other people think about you is really none of your business. It's nothing that you're going to waste your time on, because it is just that, a waste of time. Now, another way of finding your center, or another step in finding your center, is recognizing the triggers that knock you out of balance or take you out of state. It's important to recognize these things, because once we recognize them, we know how to change it. We know how to handle it when it comes our way. You know, uh, a mother with a newborn, my goodness, there are some people out there who don't have children of their own, but if you've had a child, even if you've witnessed a mom who has had a child, the whole pregnancy is building up to this beautiful, fantastic event, and her body goes through all these changes, and she's, after she gives birth, for the most part, when everything's running well, she's empowered. I did that. Yes, I brought this child into the world, and she's amazing. And then she has to figure out how to feed the child. And they don't come with a manual. It can really take you out of state very quickly. Or what happens to a bride and a groom on their wedding day? They're so excited. Everything's going well. The dress is great. And, she's got her hair done and he's got his tux on, or a dress on, and a nice shirt, or whatever style of wedding you have. The whole thing is about love. Everything's going great. And then it rains. Takes you out of state. Or does it? Because the condition and the quality of your emotions and your state, or your patterns of presence, like I like to call them, is completely up to you. They are under your control, and you can choose where you want to operate from. You can choose what meaning you give to these triggers. Some people have triggers that take them back to their childhood, or to maybe a really horrible event, or maybe an event that didn't go so as they thought it was going to. It didn't meet their model of how it should look or feel. And they attribute a meaning to this. Like one of the best examples that I can give you is, you've had a great day. You came home from work, everything's great, or you've been home and you made a beautiful dinner, and the kids are all good and everything's fine and dandy and the sun's shining, and then somebody comes home and they are not in a good mood. And they stomp through the lounge room, and they just go off and be by themselves, don't even say hello. Now, you could give that behavior the meaning that, well, they don't want to talk to me. What did I do wrong? Why are they ignoring me? What's going on? Did I do anything? I'm really sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, please forgive me. Whatever it is. I don't even know what I did, but whatever I did, please forgive me, because I just want you to be happy, and I'm really sorry that. Or you could see it for what it is. This person comes into your home. Hopefully they live there, but this person comes into your home and they're not having a good day. Something happened outside of your control for the most part. I mean, like most times. Something happened. You didn't have anything to do with it, but they're having a really hard time. So you, knowing that person, you either just gently remind them that you're there for them when they're ready to speak, or you just let them be until it's time that they want to come to you and have a discussion. And if it is something that you had something to do with, isn't it better to wait until they're ready than to assume that you're the cause of their discomfort? It really will make a difference on how you're perceiving the situation, what meaning you give to that experience will determine your state, your physiology, and your emotions. Now, once you get a handle on what triggers you and what meanings you give to those triggers, and how you want to not react, because we don't want to spend our life in reaction, but how we want to process those triggers, you can then start to look at what you're focusing on and how what you focus on creates your thoughts, and then how your thoughts then create your feelings, which then go on to create your emotions. Basic law of attraction, and I'm not saying this in an airy-fairy way, because it's a universal law. It works. It's been proven. It's not about manifesting pots of gold. You can manifest your dreams, but it takes intention plus inspired action to get your desired outcome. But when you take control of what you focus on, your life becomes a lot easier. It becomes a lot more focused. It becomes a lot more within your control to manifest what you do truly want. So where you put your attention, that's where your energy is going to go. Where if you focus on all the negative things in your life, your life will be negative. If you focus on the positive things, if you see situations for what they are in the context of that they are actually in, you have a better chance of being able to see it even better, being optimistic, not BSing yourself, but optimistic, so that you can use the experience. Anthony Robbins talks about the law of utilization. No matter what happens, use it. If it's bad, if it's a challenge, grow from it. If it's an achievement, build on it. So, changing that focus, that changes your thoughts spontaneously. And then you move from your thoughts, your feelings are already changing. And you're becoming more in tune, more aware, more in charge of your emotional state, which gives you emotional mastery. Now, once you've gotten your focus clear, once you've gotten your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions mastered, then nobody is 99 and 100% perfect at this. We're all human beings. We all have good, excellent days, and we all have not so excellent days. And, by using transitional vocabulary, we can manipulate what our focus is on those days that aren't so excellent. Now, once we have this rolling and the ball's going our way, we're taking control of the direction of it, we can begin to create rituals and celebrations around our lives. Rituals, I'm not talking about Wiccan or witchcraft or anything like that. I'm talking about patterns of presence. Patterns that you create that will get you to your desired outcomes. Patterns of presence or rituals, things that are guiding you toward your outcome. Every morning, if you're on a weight loss program, ensuring that you follow through on that plan, that every morning you get up, if you're if you're a morning exerciser, you get up, you get out of bed, you get yourself into state, and you start that exercise program. And you enjoy it. You're feeling your body. You're feeling the blood flow. You're feeling that sweat. Your heart rate's going. And you're, yes, 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 I'm excited. This is great. My body's getting better every single moment. Fantastic. That's a ritual. Then you go to breakfast and you have, a healthy breakfast. Your nutrition starts to change. It just happens. You create the ritual. You create the flow. You change your focus. You get your thoughts going that same way. Your feelings are empowering you, and it becomes a success. It becomes an achievement. And when you see these little achievements all stacking up one on top of one another, you have to make sure that you celebrate. Yes, you celebrate. Whether you get balloons and party streamers, that's up to you. But you celebrate these achievements. You give yourself the pat on the back. You make sure that you recognize within yourself that, yes, I got out of bed this morning at 5 o'clock to make sure that I was creating that warrior goddess within me so that I can serve more people with a greater amount of energy and vitality than I ever could have imagined. And when you do that, when you celebrate those times, it gives you momentum. And when you get that momentum, it's like a freight train, and it keeps going, and it gets better, and it gets faster, and things start to flow easier. And life just seems a lot more fun, a lot more empowering. Now, I want to talk about, we mentioned transitional vocabulary. And I want to talk about affirmations versus incantations. Now, some of you are saying out there, well, affirmations are great. They get you in a better place. They get you to think better. Absolutely. Louise Hay wrote an entire, series of books based on positive thinking and affirmations, and they're fantastic. They do shift your focus. They do help you to get your thoughts clearer. They do start to remove the negative emotion out of your speech. You start thinking differently. You start repatterning your brain. But there's a time when the affirmations aren't enough for some people. And it's a suggestion of mine and of some of my teachers that when you get to a level of where the affirmations have helped you to get to a certain point and you kind of feel like, okay, now what? Well, maybe it's time to start working with your subconscious mind and start using incantations. Not incantations, but incantations. Now we'll take a look at the difference here. Okay, there we go. Now, this is an affirmation. The universe provides all that I need to be abundant and prosperous. All that I need comes to me with ease and grace. A lot of people who talk or teach affirmations are very peaceful, very calming, soothing. And when you say those words, think about how your body feels. I'm not saying it's wrong. So for some people, that's where they need to get to. They need to be able to find that peacefulness, that silence within them. But how motivating, how driving is that affirmation? Is that going to move you? Is that going to inspire and motivate you to get clear about what you really want? And we're going to talk more about that in a bit. Or perhaps merely my hallucination that if you brought more energy and you started to work with your subconscious mind, that you could start to shift those patterns that might have been holding you back. Get rid of those limiting beliefs. Work on moving forward, finding that drive, getting that purpose absolutely clear and certain within you so that you have more of you to give. This is an incantation that I use every time before I give a webinar, or before I present a seminar, before I do any kind of recording or writing. And I've tried it. If I don't do it, I'm not as fully present as I am right now. You know, I'm not in my peak state. And this incantation, I'm going to read this out loud to you the way I say it for myself and the way that I've been taught to do incantations. You know, Tony Robbins tells a great story about when he was homeless and living in a Volkswagen Beetle, I think it was. He was driving at the time. He was actually sleeping in it and driving it. And, you know, I've been there. I've been homeless. 2009, I was homeless, and I used these things to be able to get myself from homelessness to being a business owner and now, you know, an internationally known coach and mentor. So this incantation that I use goes like this. I command my unconscious mind to give me the energy, the grace, the brevity to serve all who ask me for assistance each and every day so that I may lead a loving, abundant, and prosperous life. Now, the energy that comes out of that, is it the same vibration? Does it have the same energy? Is it the same empowering feeling that you get from the universe provides all that I need to be abundant and prosperous. All that I need comes to me with ease and grace. I could even say the affirmation with the same amount of energy, but the words just don't have the same energy. And they're not accessing your subconscious mind. In accessing your subconscious mind, you begin to take control over the patterns that are running your life. You begin to create new patterns of presence so that you have the ability to live your life on your terms. So, now, after that little beauty, we're going to look at push versus pull. Push is equated to willpower, and pull is equated to purpose, to drive, to momentum, to dedication. Now, there's a little story about the runner who hadn't run for 5 years or more. He had become a little bit overweight, more than a little bit overweight, and one day he just decides, I'm tired of feeling sluggish, I'm tired of looking like I look, I'm going to whip myself into shape. And so then he says, I'm going to run 12 miles today. And he gets out, and he starts running, and he's going, his sweat's dripping off his face, he's bouncing all over the place, and he's like, oh my God, this is really hard. Maybe I don't have to run 12 miles, maybe I can run 5. And he keeps going, and he's like at the 3rd mile, and he's willpowering it out, and he's going up the hill, and then all of a sudden, what happens? He pulls a hamstring. He pushed too hard. Push runs out. Your willpower will eventually become lacking. But pull, how much easier does that make your life? If you're being drawn into your purpose, if you're being pulled by your purpose into action, how much more empowering is that? How much more certain would you be of what you wanted? What is all about your purpose? Now, some people talk about, well, I have a goal. I have a dream. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but they never quite feel fulfilled, or they don't actually achieve it, and it just kind of becomes one of those things that they forget about because it's all too hard. But a purpose-driven life is a life that's incredibly fulfilling. It's full of passion and gives you more joy than you could ever imagine. When you're working or living or coming from your purpose, time stops. Have you ever been in one of those moments where you just think, oh my gosh, what happened in the last 4 hours? I don't even remember. It was 10 o'clock and now it's 2 p.m. What happened? You were in your purpose. You were present. Time doesn't exist there. Now, how do we find our purpose? One of the most important ways or steps in finding your purpose is to know what your values are. Now, I'm not talking about needs here. Needs are another thing. But what your core values are. What are the things that you will not live without? What is it that drives you to be the best you? What is it that if it was missing from your life, you might rather not be here? What won't you live without? Is it your family? Is it financial security? Is it love? Is it loyalty? Is it friendship? What is it? What is it that drives you? What is it that gets you right in your heart? That's what your core values are. And when you know what these are, and then you find a way to offer that, to contribute through them, you find your purpose. You find what drives you. Now, what is your compelling reason? What's your why? Why do you want to achieve your purpose? What would you be lacking if you didn't achieve your purpose? You know, I told you that I'd tell you my why story and how I was set to go to medical school. Well, I told you I was a nurse, and that just didn't seem to be enough. I wanted to do more. I wanted to have more of a say in what happened with the patients. So I wanted to become an emergency room doctor. I wanted to work in trauma and ICU. So I applied for a medical school. And in the United States, there's something called the MCATs. And I took them, and it's like a precursor to being admitted into medical school or accepted into medical school. And I did very well. I was actually surprised. I thought, wow, okay, maybe I do have an aptitude for this. And I actually got accepted into an Ivy League school, University of Pennsylvania. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually happening. This is fantastic. And then my mom was diagnosed with cancer. Well, I had to make a decision. I had to find out if it was my purpose to help thousands of people that I didn't know, or was it my purpose to be the sole carer for my mother, the woman that had been there with me since my first breath? Well, that was a no-brainer. I didn't go to medical school. And I spent the next year and a half pretty much being the sole carer for my mother while she went through cancer treatment and eventually died. Do you think I have any regret in that decision at all? No. I would not change that decision if my life depended on it, because it was completely my purpose to take care of my mom. And I have memories of moments during that time that I will never forget, nor do I want to, because they are the most beautiful memories that I had with my mom. Because there was a time when we weren't very close. But in that last year and a half of her life, I know that I gave her the best of me. And that's purpose. And that's pretty much the best why story I could come up with right now for you guys. Now, if we look at dreams and goals and outcomes, what's the difference? You know, we're taught, dream big. That's great. We're taught, you got to dream. You have to have a dream. Otherwise your life is boring or you don't have passion. That's true. But where do dreams sit on the scale of achievement? They're the brainstorming part. I have a dream to have a worldwide enterprise of personal empowerment products, services, and energetic healing centers all around the world. That's my dream. Okay, great. How? Oops. We can't go to how yet because that's another thing. But when and why do you want that dream to manifest? Because that, knowing those things, begin to turn it into goals and outcomes. A goal is when you know or when you set a parameter of when you want to achieve this dream by. You begin to, see it real. You begin to investigate it. You begin to bring it into a form. You begin to, start to schedule it. Put it on paper. Capture it. And then, when you find out what your why is, what your compelling reason for achieving that purpose is, it becomes an outcome. It becomes something that you will not stop until you achieve it. And that is fulfillment. That is power. That is divine creation manifest in the physical through you. You become the co-creator. Wow. What would you feel like at that moment? What state would you be in? What pattern of presence would you be operating from? Now, I almost did it. I almost went into the treachery of how to. And that is what knocks people out of their purpose so many times. Because you have people with great dreams, beautiful dreams, dreams of service or empowerment or love or contribution. And then they get all wrapped into what they have to do, the how-tos of it all. And they forget to figure out their why. They forget to attach a compelling reason to all of this. And I guess I should share my screen with you guys, because that would be really good. Sorry, that hasn't been going on up to this point. See? I've got the whole what I want to do. I know what I want. I know my why, because I just want to give you guys the best, that I can. I just forget about the how-to sometimes. I'm a coach and a mentor, not a techie. Okay, well, we're only on the third slide, I think. Oh, well, I do apologize. But here it is. So, the treachery of how-tos. When you get wrapped up in the, I got to do this and I got to do that, and you start making how-to-do lists, and, you get all anxiety-ridden and everything. Where's your focus? Is it on your outcome? Is it on your why? No, it's on the how-tos, and that's it. And you get lost. You get overwhelmed, and you say, you know what? Maybe it's just all too hard. I'm out of here. And that certainly is not fulfilling. So, whoops, you don't need that. There we go. Okay, well, now on to your unlimited power. Your unlimited power is something that you were born with. All of us were born to be innately magnificent. And only through our experience here on the planet do we learn that some of us learn most of us learn that there's something wrong, or maybe we shouldn't, go out of the parameters that everybody else has set for us, or we should fit in everyone else's box. You know, that's not living your life on your terms. Now, a lot of people will talk about, and we talked earlier about emotional mastery and things like that, and there are some people that have the theory that your emotions determine the quality and the condition of your body. But I might suggest that your physiology, the way you hold your body, definitely affects the inner condition of your physical body as well as your emotional state. Now, there was a study done by Amy Cuddy. You can find her on YouTube. She's an incredible young woman. And they did this study on how your physiology affects the hormones in your body, which hormones are released, and how much of them. And, they did blind studies where people were given certain actions to do, and they did them, and other people were watching them behind a double, a mirror that they couldn't see the other people behind. And the outcomes were just incredible through this study. But the most pertinent one for right now is one where they did saliva tests on people who had been put through a very challenging experience. And they were put through this experience, and then they did the saliva test. And when they did the first saliva test, all of the people that had been through that challenging, unnerving, anxiety-ridden experience had really high levels of cortisol, which is the fight or flight hormone in your body. It works alongside of adrenaline. So it kicks in. It's the stress hormone. When you're under stress, your cortisol levels go sky high. And when your cortisol levels are high, by the way, you tend to put on a lot of weight, because cortisol will make you hold on to the calories that you have, because it thinks that your body needs them to create more energy. So when these people were put through these anxiety-ridden challenges, their cortisol levels went sky high and their testosterone levels dropped considerably. Now, think about the boss, and we've all seen pictures of or heard stories about the boss at work who is a raving maniac, constantly drinking coffee, maybe smoking a cigarette, trying to get all these goals or ROIs or KPIs met, and he's a frantic mess. What do you think his cortisol and testosterone levels look like? Yeah, like the anxiety-ridden people, okay? And then what they did was they took all these people who had been through this first initial test, and they had them do an empowerment stance. And this stance is where you put your feet about hip width apart, shoulder width apart, and you raise your arms above your head. And I know you could be, oh my goodness, it looks like YMCA. No, we're just going to put your arms, raise your hands in a V up above your head with your palms up. And they had them stand in that stance for approximately 2 minutes, as long as they could. But 2 minutes was the benchmark. And when they stood in the stance for 2 minutes, after they did the stance, they took a saliva test again. And what they found was that the cortisol levels had significantly dropped. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was somewhere between 50 to 60%. And conversely, the testosterone levels increased 40 to 50%, if I have the numbers right. Sorry, I don't remember them exactly. But significantly, there was a huge shift. Now, when your testosterone levels are higher, you're more focus-driven. Your thoughts are clearer. You have a defined, pathway to your success. So which person would you want to be leading you? Or as a leader, what condition do you want your inner body to be in? I surely would like to have more testosterone and lower cortisol levels so that I can be fully present, driven, and fulfilled rather than scared out of my mind and wanting to run, because that's not going to serve anybody. Now, in my coaching, my business is called Energy in Motion. And it's there for a reason. Not only was I, as like I told you, raised as a shaman, but energy in motion is exactly what emotion is. Emotion is merely the manifestation of your energy, of your state in motion. Think about it. When we're sad and we cry, there's motion. When we're excited, we jump up and down. We're so excited we can't stand still. There's motion. And the basis that creates that motion is the energy attached to the feeling, which is attached to the thoughts, which is attached to the focus, going back a bit. So it's all interconnected. And it's really important that we pay attention to our physiology. Because have you ever seen a person who's depressed? Think about it. How do they stand? Their shoulders all slumped down. Their body's contracted. Their head goes down. But when you see someone who is certain, who has purpose, who's driven, what do they look like? Their shoulders are back. Their feet are spread apart. They've got stance. They've got power in them. They've got that certainty, that drive. You can see it in them. It's because their physiology is so different. And that physiology changes their state. You can take someone from depression to certainty or depression to joy just by shifting their physiology. It's an incredible tool for us to use. Now, we've talked about state, and I want to add another element of it, because state is something that comes from within, and you project it outwardly. Now, for you guys here on the call that are energy healers or are in the spiritual industry, look, I'm not speaking about projecting your energy out onto someone else, okay? What I'm speaking about is whatever your state is, whether it's a poor state or a strong state, either way, it's how you're showing up in the world. It's how people see you. Now, we talked about their judgment. That's their stuff. But how do you want to show up in the world? What projection of self do you want to show the world? That's under your control. And you can control that through first controlling your focus, your thoughts, your feelings, and your physiology, which then controls your emotions. You're mastering your emotional self. And then you project that best you out to the world. How awesome is that? How empowering is that? To know that you are living on your terms, you're showing the world who you truly are. Now, I know this is a lot. There's a lot going on. You're taking in so much information, and I appreciate your presence here. You guys have rocked this whole time. I want you to understand, I'm not saying you dump all this on you and you got to put it all to use now. There is the process of reassessing, readjusting, and repeating. If you're in a great state, assess it, celebrate it, readjust your body, change your physiology, and repeat. And it gets stronger, and it gets stronger. You're repeating, you're repatterning your mind, your body, and your spirit. You're more in alignment with your purpose, with your true self. If you're in a negative state, or if you're in a poor state, reassess. Look at what meaning you're giving to what's happening in your environment, and then readjust and repeat. It's quite simple. It's not rocket science. Now, I am so thankful for all of you hanging out here with me tonight. Thank you so much. You guys absolutely rocked it. It's been fantastic. We've served people in over 10 countries tonight. All of your energy, all of your presence has just been absolutely fantastic. You all took action. You spent an hour with me tonight, and I am so thankful. I want to reward you for being action takers. I want to give you something back. So if you are on this call tonight and you are one of the first 5 people to put your name in that question box or raise your hand, as some of you are already doing, that's fantastic. Thank you. I want to give you a complimentary energy and motion coaching session with me, and it's valued at $250. So that's $250 an hour that you just made if you're going to take advantage of this offer right here, right now. Now, if you're hearing this webinar on a recording, you can go to my website at www.constancefairleight, FAIRLEIGHT.com, and go to the contact page and leave your name and contact details, and someone from my office will contact you within 24 hours to arrange your complimentary energy and motion coaching session with me. Again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for spending this time with me. It has been an absolute joy to be here with you. I am so thankful. Have a wonderful night, and remember, live your life on your terms. Live your life with presence, passion, and power. Be magnificent, because that's who you truly are. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.